Welcome to Comic Corner, where I talk shop, show you what I got, all comic related, and today is an interesting one. It's kind of a little bit of a rant, a kind of little bit of a vlog, if you will. I'm not showing any comics, but I'm talking about a website. comicbookdb.com. Yes, I used to use comicbookdb.com for, all my comic book collection needs, all that kind of stuff. Didn't even have my full collection in there yet. I had most of it, but not all of it. I think I still had probably another 500 or so books, maybe 1,000 books to put in. I don't know. But then we were moving, and essentially that meant packing up the comics, all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't going to be cataloging any more comics and such with them. I had to pack up a lot of the stuff, obviously getting ready to sell, etc., etc., etc. Not only that, but looking for houses. I didn't have a lot of extra time to actually be cataloging it, so I was not aware that the website was no longer in service. It was sold. And now it doesn't exist anymore. Now, for a period of time, it was up so people could get their databases off of it. I unfortunately just learned about this being down recently, so I do not have my comic database. And that really is beside the point, because I've looked into all sorts of different other website comic book thingy boogies to catalog your collection, and none of them are even close to what Comic Book DB was. There's a couple that are okay, but I have comics, I have a few comics that I'll pull out to test, and I will do searches on them, and a lot of them, yes, they may be in there, but they have no information whatsoever. No covers, like if they don't have the covers, then I'm like out, right? Like that, you're no good to me. Because the fact of the matter is, I'm not quite sure how Comic Book DB got away with being sold, because I'm pretty sure it was just bought for the information. It wasn't bought for the actual website itself. It was bought for the database. But the database was created essentially by users. It was a user-built database. I myself have contributed hundreds and hundreds of books to the database, which weren't in there. I corrected a lot of the database, to make good what was actually in there and what it should have been, so that it followed the proper rules, and went along with previous releases and such. Where's my money? Where's all the people with the creators, if you will, of the database? Where's all our money? We didn't get anything for this, so that's a little disturbing. Not to mention, it is a lot of private information that is in there. And now I do know that website was one website that got hacked, and all of the passwords and email addresses and stuff were obtained and put online. They kind of needed to deal with that, but I don't think they ever did. Not that I really care if anybody had my password to that website, so they could go in and delete my collection, or they could go in and change my collection, or add new comics. Oh my god. But at the same time, they did, have that password, and I'm sure there are plenty of people who have passwords that they use on multiple sites, so kind of a bad thing going on there, because if they got your email, they got your password, God forbid you use the same password on your email account that you have on your Comic Book DB account, because then all it takes is a few little searches around. Next thing you know, they may have your Facebook account, your banking account. They may end up in your bank, man. Like there's very little that you have to really check going around if you use the same password on everything. Before next thing you know, they essentially have access to almost everything, including your home network. So yeah, just a word of advice out there, people. Change your passwords, change them often, and never use the same password on websites, on multiple websites, right? Just don't. But that's beside the point. What do I use now? What do I use now? What do you use to catalog your comics? Did you use comicbookdb? What did you switch to? Yeah, I'm kind of looking at, I think it's Comic Price Guide or something like that. It managed to pass Comics Price Guide, I think is it. Comics Price Guide? It seemed to pass my tests. I will look up, because yeah, you can search all sorts of countries and all that kind of stuff, but I looked up Brothers Dracul, which is a semi-recent 2018 book that a lot of the other places either didn't have listed or didn't have covers, and they not only have it listed with covers, they also have the variants, and you can add those to your collection. They do have, let's see, writers, artists, letterer, colorers. They didn't, and I mean, they don't have the inker or the editor pushed in. They don't have, they don't have everything. I mean, it's published, not there. It's, I guess that they'd be looking for the publisher. No, they have Aftershock Comics, so I don't know what they're looking for there. But yeah, it has a lot of the details of comicbookdb, just not all front and center like comicbookdb had. This has a little bit more, I don't know, flair to its web presence, I guess, maybe. I don't know. It's not. The thing about comicbookdb is it wasn't flashy. It wasn't anything special, but it worked. Like, everything was straightforward DB, call and response to a database, populate and go forward. And it was pretty extensive. You could search by everything, artists and stuff, and click on it and see what they were involved in, which is what I liked. You could put in, when you bought it, where you bought it, how much you bought it for, if it was signed, who signed it, all that kind of stuff. And I liked it because if you go into comic book conventions, somebody's going to be there. You want to know all the comics that you own that they did, right? And you could click on that and boom, boom, boom. There you go. These are all the comics I may want to pull and go get signed, right? Always an option with the comic book guys, but. Yeah, it's hard to find a website, app, etc. that has all that now. I've heard a lot of bad things about the comic price guide in terms of pricing. Apparently it's not that great, but comicbookdb never really had that. I mean, you could put it up, say that you're willing to sell it and stuff like that, but never really was. It wasn't meant as a price guide, and comicspriceguide.com kind of sounds like it's supposed to be a price guide, but I've heard a lot of iffy things about what the actual values they put on these things are, and how they came to them, so I don't know how that is. But yeah, I don't know. They got 6,138 publishers listed, over 1 million comics listed. So I don't know if that's the where I'm gonna go or not. Yeah. I need suggestions, people, and they have to be valid, really good ones. Which ones do you use? And it's got to be extensive. I do not want to go to some place and look it up, and find that they just don't have the information. I don't just want to say that I have this issue of this, comic by this publisher. I want the details, man. I want to be able to put in as many details as possible, and such. And the thing I love about this, with comicspriceguide.com, they have, like I said, they got Brothers Dracul in their database with covers and variants. And #1 issue is only owned by 27 people, and yet it's in there. They have over 1 million members, but within 27 members, the information was put in there. So there's active people who are buying comics, getting comics, and putting them in the database. That means the likelihood that I find books that aren't in there is a lot lower. I'm sure I'll still come across stuff in my collection that just isn't in there. But I'm kind of leaning towards Comics Price Guide, guys. If you know of something better, comment down below and I will look at it and we will have a discussion in the comics. But yeah, comicbookdb.com. What the... Seriously, man. Like, I don't even think I got an email about it. Because I would have seen the email. And I know they had my email on file. So why wouldn't they have emailed their users? Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you send out did they send out an email? Did it just end up getting blocked by spam filters or something and thrown away? I don't know, but I am really bummed about it because I put in a lot of work. I mean, hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours cataloging my collection, adding new comics and such to that database. And not only is it all gone, but I didn't get any compensation for it. My whole idea was as long as it's there and I'm able to use it, that is my compensation. But it's no longer there. It got sold for money, and I didn't see any of that money. I didn't see any money for my work, and now I can't even use it. Apparently it's supposed to come back, but that's been many moons ago, apparently, and I don't see nothing. So, yeah, what up with that? But, yeah, rest in peace, website, because, honestly, you can't go more than maybe 1 to maybe 2 months in the comic book industry for collectors with they just can't wait that long. I mean, there are people who get hundreds of books a week. So yeah, you add that up over 1 to 2 months, and yeah, that's sitting down for a long period of time. And that's if their whole collection is even still there. They'd have to go through and double check, right? Like, I mean, you have the information, but who the hell knows what... as people who work on websites, I know that the guys in IT and such like that, and designers and database builders and all that kind of stuff, they screw shit up. They delete shit. They mess shit up all the time. It happens. So, yeah. I don't trust anything online, man. It's a dog-eat-dog world out there, and it's here one day, gone tomorrow. Just like comicbookdb.com. What the heck? Seriously, it pisses me off. It pisses me off. I'm so miffed that all that work is gone. It's just gone, and it's all for naught. I didn't get compensated for it. None of you, I'm sure none of you got compensated for it. But where do I go? Where do I go? Comment down below. Love to hear from you. Thanks for watching. Till next video, take care. Have a good one.